Dublin have come to Semple Stadium and won by 21 points to 216 to Dublin. Goals coming from Kilmacud Crokes duo Ronan Hayes and Fergal Whiteley. Whiteley getting the one in the first half and Hayes adding his after the break. Dublin were full value for the win here. They did have to withstand a late fight back, and there was a long free that came in. Noel McGrath delivered it from his own 45 into the square. It was broken by Paul Flynn. Jason Ford then had a chance to pick the ball up and just knock it into the back of the net. He missed the lift. Sean Brennan then snuffed him out. Sean Brennan was excellent in goals. Ball went out over the end line, and from that point on, the final whistle was blown by Johnny Murphy, and Dublin get out of here with a 216 to 21 point win. And it's only 3 years since they won a league quarter final here, so this is steady progress for Matty Kenny. He's in year 4, and it's pretty obvious the way they work the ball around the field that they're a little bit more comfortable in what they're doing than Tipperary are just now. The first couple of games we saw Tipperary doing the slick interplay around the middle of the field, handballing it off to each other before delivering or taking a shot from distance. We saw very little of that in this game. A couple of times they did try, but it never quite came off. And I wonder, is part of that anything to do with the fact that you're just up against stronger opposition here? Because Dublin, they're a nice bit of a step up from what we saw the first day against Laois, who were subsequently thrashed by Waterford. And a sort of a Kilkenny team that looks like it's a little bit off where it wants to be at this stage. They're down to Ballyhale players. They're not quite the Kilkenny team of old. Like Tipperary, definitely in terms of being a work in progress, there's an awful lot of work to do here. But also, you'd have to take into account that if you're playing this game of working it through the middle of the field and hand passing it off to each other, who were the players that really, impacted the game the first couple of games? And I would say that the two wing backs were Dylan Quirk and Barry Heffernan. They were getting on the ball an awful lot. Neither of them played in this game, so I think that kind of gives you an indication of maybe why Tipperary weren't quite so slick and moving that ball through the centre. You had Seamus Kennedy holding the centre again. Craig Morgan played cornerback in place of Cathal Barrett, who was ill, and so was Ger Brown. They were both out sick. Dan McCormick went in for him. But there was big changes to the Tipperary team. Brian McGrath played full-back. Owen Connolly played cornerback. So it was a completely new look team that's kind of based on those All-Ireland winning underage teams a couple of years ago. Brian McGrath looked a little bit uncomfortable at full-back at times, and he did get turned and burned by Ronan Hayes for that goal in the second half. Hayes would do that to a lot of players, but he's going to need games if he's going to settle in as a full-back. Owen Connolly had a couple of tough moments on Aidan Mellett, who was really, really tidy in the forward line. But Tip's attack just didn't have the threat. Jake Morris scored 3 from play. Michael Breen scored 1 from play. Paul Flynn got 1 from play. But after that, there was no other scores from play from the Tipperary forward line. Robert Byrne got 2 from maybe 90 yards out. And that was kind of the height of it, really, for the Tipperary challenge. There was no goals created. And you'd have to say that Dublin were really, really good at doing that. They could have had another goal, I think, in the first half. Let me just double check my notes here. Fergal Whiteley had a chance. There was a long ball that was broken by Ronan Hayes, and Whiteley just had a tame effort that went at the goalkeeper, Barry Hogan. There was that goal that was really well won. There was a great bit of skill from Danny Sutcliffe on his own 45. He'd lost all his catches, or used up all his catches, flicked the ball over his head and just blasted it down the field. Ruck ball was eventually won by Chris Crummy. He fed the ball on, and Fergal Whiteley won the ruck ball. That was fed on to Chris Crummy. He drew the man and gave the ball into Ryan McBride, who finished really, really well. But Dublin were the team creating the goal chances. Tip started the second half really, really well and actually went 14 points to 1-9 ahead. But then Dublin took over. And there was a funny kind of momentum shift throughout this game. Dublin took over and went on a run of 1-5 actually to a point midway through the second half, culminating in that Ronan Hayes brilliant goal. As I said, again, Sutcliffe was the creator throughout this game. Really, really good. The last year or so, we've seen a nice bit of that sort of 2013 type form. That's a long time ago now, 10 seasons since, but we're seeing a nice bit of that. Tipperary didn't give up, though. To be fair, they brought on Noel McGrath, John McGrath. Noel got himself a nice point from play. Conor Bowe came on, he got himself a nice point from play. And it was all forward frees from that point. There was a couple of other long frees that Tipperary took from inside their own, probably within 55 yards of their own goals. Ronan Maher had a great chance to level it. He took a shot from the sideline that just about dropped wide. And obviously there was that chance for Jason Ford laid on, but he could have stolen the win for Tipperary. Would they have been full value for it? Probably not. There were still positive elements for Tipperary, but Dublin were the better team, used the ball better, won the rucks better, used the ball better. They just look a little bit further down the line in terms of what they're trying to do. Obviously, patience wears fairly thin in Tipperary at times. Dublin, they don't have the same microscope up in the capital. There's not quite the same level of intensity of interest, but they're building a nice team. They're building a very skillful team, and they're going to be a threat throughout the summer. Let me know what you think.